Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk about why I believe the layered learning model is the most effective. So this layered learning model actually applies to me in two areas of my life. The first area is it applies to me as a pharmacist, and the second area actually applies to me as a real estate investor who owns 90 units of real estate without any partners while working full time. So let me explain. So in pharmacy school, what we do is there's typically pharmacy school is 4 years, right? So when you're a first year pharmacy school, you're typically learning from a second year pharmacy student. When you're a second year pharmacy student, you're learning from a third year pharmacy student. A third year is learning from a fourth year, and the fourth year is usually learning from a pharmacy resident or an actual working pharmacist. So that's layered learning. You're just learning from somebody one step ahead of you. In real estate, I did the same thing. So because I was so familiar with that layered learning model in pharmacy school, it just felt very natural, very organic for me to do the same thing in real estate, which is why I joined a multifamily mentorship and then inspired me to kind of create my own multifamily mentorship and course. So you can check the link down below if you're interested in learning more about my multifamily course and mentorship. So in real estate, how I started was I started off house hacking in California. All right. So I would buy a primary residence, put 10 to 20% down because it's a conventional loan for a primary residence. I would live in the master bedroom, rent out the other rooms. So I would try to get, at least a 4 bedroom, 5 bedroom house, live in the master, and then rent out the other 3 to 4 bedrooms for, about $1,000 each, including utilities, and that would cover my mortgage, and I just would have to pay for the property tax, insurance, utilities, HOA. So that significantly reduced my cost. So that's all I knew, right? I just house hacked my first property, I house hacked the second property, and I house hacked the third property. And then I kind of dabbled out of state a little bit for single family homes. And after I bought about 5 single family homes, that is when I actually joined a multifamily mentorship. Everyone there was trying to get into apartment complexes like myself, and we were investing without partners. So a lot of the other people in the mastermind, they were working full time, high income W-2, just like myself. They may have owned a couple of single family homes like myself, and they were trying to buy apartment complex like myself. So it was just really nice. Obviously the mentor was the most experienced, but it was just very nice to, also learn from, the other students and what they're going through, right? Like trying to negotiate with the contractor, negotiating with the, seller, trying to, raise money if you're going down the syndication route, or how to get multiple bids for insurance. And it was just kind of nice to really surround yourself with, um, others who are doing what you're doing. And, a lot of people in my mastermind, they were all buying apartment complexes so it felt like I felt out of place because I didn't own an apartment complex, right? And that's the type of people you want to surround yourself with. That's the type of community you want to surround yourself with. And, unless you're lucky and all your close friends that you grew up with in high school are all into that, usually it's not the case. You can have your own, right? So, very familiar with this layered learning model, and it benefited me in terms of my W-2 life, and it's benefiting me in terms of my real estate investing career. So, that's what I really love about learning from those who are one step ahead of you. Um, going back to my real estate example, like I was buying single family homes, that's all I knew. I had this limiting belief that, um, only if you're really rich could you afford to buy an apartment complex. I never thought I'd own an apartment complex, but once I started surrounding myself with people who were buying apartment complex left and right, and they're just regular people like myself or like you, right? We just work a W-2. Fortunate to work a higher income W-2. We were hit with student loans, and we owned a couple single family homes, which is very impressive already. But we all kind of felt stuck, and all wanted to move up to apartment complexes. But it was just very refreshing to see that like all these people who are just like me were closing these apartment complexes, and seeing their disbelief being shattered, because just like myself, we all thought that you had to be really rich in order to own an apartment complex. But we're seeing people who they just worked hard, saved their money, over time, and were able to use that money to buy a value add apartment complex where they would fix up, raise the rents, and do a cash out refinance, pull your money out, right? So it's just very nice to surround myself with that type of tribe. And long behold, after being 6 months in that mentorship, and taking consistent action, and sending out direct mail, making offers, analyzing deals and deals and deals, and underwriting. I closed on my first apartment complex, which is my 26 unit, and from there, the rest was history, right? Like I shortly after closed on a mobile home park, and then another 20 unit, and I literally scaled to 90 units in the matter of like 8 months, right? And that was because I was really learning from those one step ahead of me. It kept me very motivated. It kept me focused that, hey, if I just put in the effort and follow this system, then I will have the same result. So that's what kind of left me um, to create my own mentorship. Like, once again, you can check the description down below. Is just to really, share what I've learned along the way. There's some things that I wish my mentorship kind of had. So I kind of took that and then create my own. And, it's just really to inspire those who, they're really busy, right? You're busy working a full time W-2, you're busy raising kids, you're busy taking care of your aging parents, you have multiple obligations. And, despite all of that, still being able to buy real estate, and, just following the system and learning from somebody who's one step ahead of you. And, it may sound intimidating to say I have 90 units, but like not too long ago, I was just one step ahead because, I was in your position where maybe I just owned a single family home, and I just said, what's next, right? I have all this money I want to invest, or I want to start saving up money to invest. Like, what do I do next? So that's why it's really rewarding for me to kind of give back. I learned, and it shattered my limiting belief of you need to be very rich in an apartment complex, and now I hope to do the same and teach others, and help them achieve financial freedom for themselves, and change the trajectory of their family, and give them more time freedom, option to leave their day job if they want to, and just more options. That's why we're doing real estate, is just to really get options and have freedom. And obviously the next example was pharmacy school, right? Like, it was just very nice to know that, hey, like, if you want, as a first year pharmacy student, like, if you want to pass this class, this is how you got to study, right? Like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just can learn from others who were one step ahead of you. And same thing, right? Like, a lot of fourth year pharmacy students are asking pharmacy residents, like, hey, how'd you get the residency? Oh, or they're asking the pharmacy director, hey, like, how should I get a job? Like, what do I need to do to make myself very competitive for a job, right? Like, you're not alone. There's always someone there above you to help you. And it feels comforting knowing that you can go to people and ask for help. Even me, right? Like, I've been a pharmacist for 10 years. I've been a director for 6 years now. And there was a mentor I had when I was a new pharmacist, a new graduate. And he was just like, hey, Steven, like, if you want to go down management or become a director down the road, like, you should get a master's degree. And literally, without any questions, I just said, all right, well, what do you think about this program? And I ended up getting a master's in public health through UC Berkeley. It was online. And then, maybe once a year, we had to go on site for like a week or two. But for the most part, it was all on site. And I did that. And it did help me get a pharmacy director career. And I was able to do it 4 years after graduating pharmacy school, right? Which is really fast. And I was really young, right? Because I had a mentor who said, Stephen, you need to get this, and this is what you need to do at this current job to make your resume look more competitive and to give you the skill set to become a pharmacy leader, right? So when I was a new graduate, I was like always asking to work on, policies and procedures. I'd asked to help with assisting on protocols. I would try to be involved in the pharmacy meetings if they had any. I just would do whatever I can to assist the current pharmacy director, as well as learn from this guy who's been a pharmacy director for over 30 years. He just retired and was just working as a per diem pharmacist. So it was just really nice to, kind of learn from him and pull from his wisdom of 30 years, and, definitely helped me expedite my journey. And I still keep in touch with him today. And sometimes I like to bounce ideas off of him of how to solve problems because there's no handbook, there's no manual on how to be a pharmacy leader, for how to be a pharmacy director. A lot of it it's just through your skills, your experience, and how you navigate and solve problems, right? It's more of an art than a science. Obviously, there's a lot of rules and regulations and laws that is black and white, but there's a lot of law where it's gray and you just need to bounce an idea off somebody. So, it's nice to be as part of a mastermind in pharmacy, right? Like if you're part of a huge health system where there's, 12 hospitals and each hospital has a pharmacy director, we typically will all meet and talk. And it's almost like a mastermind session for real estate, right? So, very applicable layered learning, very applicable to your profession, whether you're W-2, and very applicable to if you want to scale real estate, maybe you want to scale a YouTube channel, or build a business, and it's just really nice to surround yourself with those type of people. The second thing I like about layered learning is that you can navigate the common pitfalls, right? Like, so if you're learning from somebody one step ahead of you, they said, "Hey, I fell in this ditch over here. This is what you need to do to avoid it." Right? So, like for example, would be, hey, like when I was interviewing for a pharmacist position, I messed up. I was nervous. I didn't have a story prepared. I couldn't really introduce myself well. I didn't know what questions to ask. I didn't know how to like engage the interviewer. So I would then, teach pharmacists who were younger than me, like, oh, like this is what I avoided, and this is what I learned from it. Like I remember I did one interview and it's funny because I'm naturally a very fidgety person. I'm the person where I'm sitting down and my legs always like moving up and down. And I've been that way my whole life, right? I'm just like very fidgety. And, when I interviewed for like one of my first director of pharmacy positions, I remember I was sitting in this like swivel chair and I would swivel like left and right. And I didn't even realize I was doing it, right? I was literally swiveling left and right always, right? And then, I wasn't nervous, but that body language, because unfortunately, it's 70% of communication is nonverbal. Even though I wasn't nervous, I was just naturally fidgety. To people, to a panel of interviewers, there's like seven, eight, people there on the panel, like they would see me as nervous, right? Because I was constantly swiveling. They just thought it was like a nervous tick. And then it was funny. I had this like huge 1 liter bottle of like water. And anytime they'd ask me a question. So on panel interviews, they usually have a list of questions, right? They'll ask you one at a time and they'll rotate each person. And it's awkward because like they would ask the question and then literally after you answer, there's a silent pause for like 2, 3 minutes as everyone's jotting down your responses. And during that time, you get kind of self conscious. You start thinking about like, oh, like did I answer it wrong? Like it's kind of awkward. And like for me, I drink a lot of water. Like I'm always like feeling dehydrated, and it's because I used to work out a lot back then. So I'd always drink water, and between every question, I would just start chugging the water. And by the end of the interview, which is an hour, I literally finished a liter of bottle or a 1 liter bottle. And, um, once again, like I wasn't nervous, but it was perceived that I was nervous from all the panel. So I remember getting out of that interview and the, VP of pharmacy or the regional director, pulled me aside and said, hey, Stephen, I thought you did great on the interview. Um, you were kind of like fidgeting a lot, swiveling in your chair, drinking water, doing nervous ticks. I don't think you were nervous, but just the body language can be interpreted as nervous. And I just said, oh my God, like, in the time, once I got that feedback, I just said, okay, well, I'm not getting that job. And it sucks, right? But on the flip side, I was just like, wow, I really appreciate that advice. Because, like, I basically got advice from, regional director of pharmacy. He's been in the profession, a regional director for like 10, 15 years. And I was even aware that I was like swiveling in my chair and like drinking so much water, right? So now that I'm aware, like moving forward from every interview I do moving forward, if there's like a swivel chair, I will intentionally, what I do is I will actually sit straight up. I actually cross my legs. So there's no way that I could, um, what is it, swivel. If you fidgety of your hands, what I do is I would actually clasp my hands together and put it down and rest at my lap, right? Usually there's a table, they can't see that. So my legs are crossed, my hands are grasped, and I don't bring water anymore to my interview. So I just remove all these perceived nervous tics, right? By crossing my legs, there's no way that I can swivel on my chair. By clasping my hands and resting on my lap, there's no way that I could have a weird nervous tic with my hands. By having no water there, I can't just chug a liter of water during a 1 hour interview, right? So because he gave me that advice, I really took it forward and it really helped me, right? So I really come in, I'll assess the situation I'm thrown in. If it's a stationary chair, it's easy, right? I'm not gonna like rock in that chair, but I do cross my legs because I don't want my legs to be, fidgeting as well. So, it's just these little things that you learn from and pick up, and I try to pass on myself where I do interviews, and I would offer some advice, like, if I did bring them on board, I'd be like, hey, like next time, maybe work on this, right? So that's what's navigating the common pitfalls, right? So, a lot of people are not very forthcoming of giving you feedback. So for me, I try to solicit feedback, like, oh, like what can I do better next time? And this applies to pharmacy and also real estate, right? Like, okay, what mistakes did I make? Like, what could I have done to mitigate this mistake, right? Like, I made a mistake where I overpaid for my insurance, and I overpaid my insurance by $1,000 to $2,000 because I didn't shop it around, three different mortgage brokers, right? So if you don't shop it around, how do you know if you have the best price? So, because I didn't shop it around, I was too lazy to spend, 30 minutes to shop it around. I end up paying extra, a couple thousand. And it's a lesson learned, right? So that's what I mean by you can navigate the common pitfalls and avoid them. Like, that's why to me, like, the cost of mentorship for like real estate or even pharmacy, like, even if you're paying like a couple $1,000s for like a real estate mentorship, if that mentorship or course can help you avoid one mistake, especially like in multifamily, like, it will definitely like cover the cost of the course, right? Like by me just not shopping around three insurance quotes, it probably costed me like $3,000 to $4,000, and that could easily just cover like a real estate investing course, right? Or easily pay for like a couple coaching sessions with a more experienced real estate investor. So that's what I mean. Like, if you're willing to, do that and invest and avoid pitfalls, it can, do that. Like, I made mistakes where I didn't do enough due diligence on the pest control. Like, and I had to fumigate in my apartment complex, my 20-unit apartment complex. It cost me 10K, right? Like, that's way more than like I spent on mentorships. So, and coaching. So like I would have, maybe if I invested the money in mentorship and coaching, then I could avoid that pitfall. So that's why I'm taking all lessons I learned, putting it into my course, putting it into my mentorship, putting it into my mastermind, and hopefully my students won't make the same mistake, and I want to save them more money than they're spending on the course in the mentorship, right? So that's the whole point of it, and the point of it too is to expedite your journey, right? Like, if you can avoid all these pitfalls which cause time delay, and time is money, so if I can prevent that, or you prevent that, that's how you became fast. That's how I became a pharmacy director in 4 years, because I had a mentor who was guiding me, like, hey, get a master's degree. When you interview, this is what you need to do. You have to just constantly apply, and you're gonna fail, but learn. As long as you learn from the failure, it's okay, right? These apply to anything in life, any success factors in life, whether it's getting a pharmacist job, whether it's buying real estate, whether it's scaling a business, right? The next one is, learn from others' mistakes, right? Like, I'm pretty forthcoming, right? Like, I share the good, but I also like sharing the bad in terms of like what I've done in real estate. And if you can learn from my mistake, um, eh, great. Like, I want to help you. I don't want you to make my mistake, right? Like, the whole point is to make it easier for the next person. Um, you know, you should walk down the same path. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just follow somebody who you like, know, and trust, and who's doing what you want to do, and yeah, just learn from their mistakes, and seek their guidance. Get involved with them. Like, I have a weekly mastermind session that's free. Like, you can join that. Just give me an email, and come learn, be engaged, and just learn from other people. Surround yourself with the right community. So, like you said, like, we all like to share what we learned, and even me, I'm learning from a lot of my students and a lot of people that I'm coaching. So it's kind of going both ways. It's very nice. It's very reciprocal, and it's a very giving, um, community. So it's amazing. The next one is, so this is number four. Know that you're not alone. Like, when you like are successful, it's very lonely at the top, right? Like, when you're a pharmacy director and you're the highest position in the hospital as a pharmacist, like it's very lonely. Like you can't just talk to like a pharmacist who's below you. Usually they're going to be like scared of you, or kind of tell you what you want to hear, because they don't want to challenge you, or leave a bad impression with you because you're their boss, right? So it gets very lonely. Same with real estate. Like it's not many people are buying a lot of real estate. Not many people are buying apartment complexes, mobile home parks. So you start to become very unrelatable, and it starts to feel lonely. Like, and when you're making mistakes and you're falling down, it's nice to be surrounded by others who said, you know what, Stephen, like I was where you were a year ago, and eventually these are what you're going to learn from this experience, and this is what you're going to have clarity on moving forward, and this is how you mitigate these mistakes sooner, right? So like for me, I didn't realize that like every successful person goes through a period where they hit like rock bottom and then they bounce back up, right? Like that's everybody, right? You have periods where it's amazing, you have the highs, and then you have the lows, and then you bounce back from the lows, and there's lows again. So it's just a continuous cycle of highs and lows and highs and lows, and it's just nice to know that you have people in your corner who can help you, support you, and guide you, in case you fall down. Because sometimes, when you're stressed out, when you're feeling like everything, the world's against you, nothing's going right, like it's just nice to have somebody say, hey, like this is normal, you'll get through it, don't blow it out of proportion. So it's just nice to hear that, right? Like you said, it gets very lonely. And even myself, like what encouraged me to create my multifamily money mentorship and course was just to really surround myself with other people so we can all push and encourage each other, and strive for greatness together, right? Like it's lonely. And I want people who are very similar to me. And, like I don't need a large community, but it's nice to have a close knit community where we all learn from each other and support each other, right? Um, the next one is, sharing ideas and best practices. So, like I said, this goes hand in hand, right? Where like, let's just say I have a shiny object syndrome and I share an idea with somebody. It's just nice to have somebody within like your close knit circle to be like, Steven, you always have shiny object syndrome. Like you're seeing this as too optimistic, rosy colored glasses view. Maybe you should do these steps to really test it out first, right? It's just nice to have someone like redirect you a bit, because in the moment, you're very excited, and you just need some redirection sometimes. So it's just nice to kind of say, hey, like this is what I'm doing to manage my apartments better to save money. Or if I'm like partnering or like working with other apartment operators, or like, hey, like we offer a moving special when we want to fill up a lot of vacant units. And I'm like, okay, well, how'd you do that? How'd you advertise that? Right? Like, and then they said, oh, we advertise on Facebook Marketplace and we do a limited time offer. So it's just like nice to share ideas and have best practices. And like I said, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? There's other people out there doing it. Just find those people, and yeah. And the last one, it's like I said, it's just nice to have a sense of community of like-minded people, right? Like when you grow down this greatness journey, when you go down this success journey, um, a lot of your prior friends and family, they don't want to see you grow, because they just want you to stay who you are. And it's not like anything malicious or bad. It's just like this is who you are. And if you're growing, they feel like you might be growing apart from them, right? Like, oh, hey, if you're really into this business or you're really into real estate, like you may not want to hang out with me anymore, and just like watch Netflix, or watch sports together, or just whatever you used to do, back when you were younger, right? Like, and it doesn't feel good to see someone else grow ahead of you while you're kind of being stagnant, right? So it's almost like a defense mechanism on their end. They're trying to protect their own ego, their own identity, and not feel bad, right? So just know that fortunately it's common. And not to mean that you need to cut off those people completely, but you just may have to limit how much time you spend with them, or only spend do certain things with them. And then but you need another community where like they're doing what you're doing, right? So maybe if I have let's say a friend group where we like to watch sports together, yeah, sports are on, we'll hang out, have some beers, get some food, have a good time. But there's a time and place when I need to like operate my apartment complex, and it's nice to have people who actually own apartment complexes that I can bounce ideas off of, right? So you might have to expand who you're spending time with, who you're learning from, and whose mindsets and habits you're picking up from, right? So that's what's really nice about layered learning. That's why you make a lot of good friends in, like, let's say pharmacy school, medical school, right? You're surrounding yourself with like-minded people. You're all striving towards the same goal, and you learn from each other. Same thing of real estate. You're surrounding yourself with a lot of real estate investors, and you learn from each other, right? So it's really applicable to everybody, um, and it's been beneficial for me personally. So, once again, to summarize, I really like the layered learning model. It's benefited me a lot as a pharmacist and becoming a pharmacy director. It's benefited me a lot as a real estate investor, and it's going to benefit me as I try to expand my social media, right? So this applies to everything in life, not just pharmacy, not just real estate, not just business, but you want to learn from those who are one step ahead of you, right? That's number one. Number two is you want to navigate and avoid the common pitfalls. Number three is you want to learn from other people's mistakes. Number four is you want to know that you're not alone. Number five is you want to share ideas and best practices. And number six, you want to create a sense of community of like-minded people and individuals. So hopefully you found value in this video. If you want to learn from my mentorship program about multifamily, check out the description down below. There's a case study video that you can watch. It's quick. It's about 10 minutes. You can learn from it, or you can reach out to me directly if you have questions. Happy to help. And I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you so much.